Stariski marks his entrance bow, poised on the crossbeam with a vast A frame. Abelin sees imaginary crowds gawping at his defiant stunt. Mares are on her feet up in the air, the spiders wobble safely they are strung.
The Great Stariski. So this is a poem that you wrote, Rab. When did you write this poem, actually? I've got no idea.
Oh, it must be maybe about 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Aye.
When I made the film, when we were making the film, Finding the Seam, with Tony Grace, who's the film lecturer at University of West of Scotland. We made this film about mining, and it was round about that time that I wrote the poem about Johnny Stariski.
There you go. Aye. It's a wonderful, wonderful story, and it's obviously based around Johnny Stariski, who worked at the Barony colliery, and where you worked as well. Is that right enough?
Aye. Johnny was the sort of in charge of the Powder magazine, if you like, or the explosive store, and he would give out the explosives to the sort of the shop firers as they commenced their shifts.
Right.
You know, to take the explosives underground to drill the seam of coal and put the explosives in and blow it out.
Aye.
You know, and so it was a very responsible job, you know.
I'd say so. Aye.
This was in the days where, you know, there was terrorist stuff, you know, in the UK, and so explosives had to be accounted for, you know, to the last, you know, gram.
Sure.
And, a very responsible job. But he was the right character, Johnny. You know, he was a very sort of witty, jovial character. I had a twinkle in his eye. There was a twinkle in Johnny's eye, and he was a great character, as can be, you know, ascertained for the story and the poem.
Aye. It's wonderful. I mean, when I get in touch with you initially, and I was asking for kind of industry related material for Ayrshire, and you sent me a wheen of stuff through. I mean, loads and loads of stuff, loads of poems, and that one immediately I was drawn to it. You know, it just took a wee while to work on it and come up with an idea to put it to music. But I mean, that image of this man climbing to the top of the A frame, and I think it's really important for people to see this A frame, to actually see this structure, because it's ginormous, and it's a wonderful monument to what was the biggest industry in Scotland at one point.
I suppose, you know, if you look at it from the point of view of a sort of iron or steel industrial structure, and the prominence of it in the landscape, then as far as East Ayrshire goes, you could look at it as like an Eiffel Tower, or like the Blackpool Tower. It's just the same similar impact, and just as you place those places by those two structures, you can do the same with the A-frame in East Ayrshire. You know, if you're from this corner of the world, you immediately know what that is, or the Angel of the North in a way. You know, it's very similar to the Angel of the North as well, even though it's not a work of art, and yet sort of in a way it kind of is a work of art. It is now. You know, it's strange that it started out as a purely industrial, you know, working thing, a structure, and now it has become something totally different. You know, it becomes something that's emblematic of a whole way of life, and one of the last sort of physical things in the landscape that represents that way of life.
Aye. No, that's really interesting, comparing it, you know, so directly to another work of art. because you know, me as a musician and as a, you know, a time served turner, that's what I did when I left school. I went to get an apprenticeship with Alan West Wallacestown Engineering, making mining equipment, and I loved manufacturing things. I loved it, especially on the manual lathe. You know, I was working a lot in CNC, computer numerically controlled stuff, but especially in the manual lathe, you know, making something. And I kind of got the same satisfaction out it as playing music, as finishing this, getting a lump of metal and finishing this and looking at it, and it was perfect. You know, it was a perfect thing made to specifications, but you know, just the involvement in it. You know, I don't know why I always get that brilliant satisfaction at it.
Oh, I think anything that involves a level of creativity and being an artisan, you know, there is a great sense of achievement out of creating something with your own hands, whether it's a mundane widget for some sort of commercial purpose, or whether it is an actual, you know, artistic object. You know, just to do that with your hands. I mean, there was a thing in the news a wee while back there. Somebody just discovering this, a few sort of a kind of image roughly etched in a stone, and they reckon it could be like 100,000 years old or something like that. Really, you know, they're the first attempts by a human kind of being to kind of create a work of art like that. You know, the earliest known example of it. But yeah, that's the A frame is for us in this area. You know, that's our great sort of a object in the landscape that speaks about a whole way of life. And the human component to it with the Johnny Stariski story, you know, I don't know what kind of it's an interesting mix. It's an interesting mix of a human being, a human story, and this inanimate, huge, giant steel structure. You know, but yet the kind of meet together here and tell a story. You know, and hopefully, as I've said before, Seán, it's a kind of universal story. It's a timeless story about the human spirit. You know, just wanting to do something. You know, just this crazy impulse, crazy impulse to just you know seize the moment. You know, catch the moment as the fly, as Burns said. You know, just this crazy wee moment doing this handstand, 150 odd feet in the air, with no safety net. You know, it takes your breath away. It takes your breath away. It really does.
So how did you hear about this story first of all, and what does Johnny himself have to say about it? What did he have to say about it?
Well, obviously, you know, as a young apprentice working at the Barony Colliery, where I did an engineering apprenticeship, and it was one of these kind of urban myths in a way. You know, you heard this story occasionally for older men. Oh, why that was where Johnny Stariski did a honestone up there. and I suppose initially, I mean, I didn't know who Johnny Stariski was, and the story just kind of I don't know if you believed it or no initially, you know, but then as I worked there for a wee while, you know, became aware, you know, there is Johnny Stariski, there he was working in the place, and it just dawned on you that this is a real thing, this really happened.
Sure.
I would have just been a passing acquaintance of Johnny Stariski when I worked there. I worked there for about 1977 to 1986, to January 1986, and then I left to take up a nursing, to become a staff nurse, trained to be a staff nurse. So Johnny was always, you know, he was part of the workforce and he was there. He would have left before the miners' strike. I think he would have been that kind of age where he would have retired before 1984, 1983, 1984. I think Johnny would have retired then. He would have been gone before the miners' strike. But I do remember him. I can remember he used to, he had quite a style about him. He was quite an individual, and he had a wee kind of goatee beard. It was always very neatly trimmed. Quite a dapper character, and still is quite a dapper character, even though he's in late 80s now, and he's in a nursing home now. But just a very, very, very interesting man.
Aye, indeed, aye. And there's a fantastic from that video you mentioned earlier on. Is it Finding the Seam? It's called. There's a great wee snippet of you talking to Johnny about it.
What actually happened that day, Johnny? What was going on?
Well, I was working with a Welsh firm, steel erection, we're putting rings onto the ladder for a safety ring, and one of the men froze, fear, and couldn't get his horns off. Jack says, "Oh God, what are we going to do, Johnny?" I says, Peter, he didn't blow his legs. He says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, he knock him out." Right. Jack caught him and I got him. Worked him down. And I says, "Look, Di," that was his name. And I went up there and I stood in my horns. And Jack shouts, "Come down out there, you silly so-and-so." He's called to it again.
It's just great, and the way that he talks about it in the kind of, a fairly blasé manner,
Aye, it was as if this was something you did every day, or something, or something that anybody would do. But no. You would have to be a very confident individual to do something like that. But I mean, he was a champion high board diver, and he was a bodybuilder as well. So he was somebody who would have done a handstand on a strong diving board, thousands of times probably, just like a kind of circus performer or an acrobat or somebody. They've done this thousands of times. So he would have felt very confident and able to do it, But having said that, it was a very risky thing to do, You can imagine the health and safety folk now having heart attacks,
Oh dear.
Something like that happen.
Aye, my God.
We need more Johnny Stariskis. More Johnny Stariskis are needed in society.
And lax out letting life apart that joy. At all the wee black specks, doing open the guns, the Great Stariski. The Great Stariski.